Welcome to Chanel's Reality, y'all. I'm Chanel, and this is my reality. I don't know what's going on today with my audio. I have these new AirPods that my husband bought me because he's such a great husband, but I can't really hear myself through here, and I don't know why that is. I should be able to. Let's see. I'm going to go online and see if I can see myself. Because YouTube sometimes plays these reindeer games. And I don't necessarily understand why. But let's see. If I go to my channel, will it show? It does show that I'm live. Can I hear anything though? It does show that I'm live. Can I hear anything though? So I'm gonna assume that you guys are all here on the other side. So listen, I wanted to talk about Cat Williams. There's this YouTube channel that I really like. It's called Culture Covered. And also they have, I think they have two channels. One is called Culture Covered, and then the other one is called, I think, Culture Spilled or something like that. I'm gonna definitely put their YouTube page or channel in the description. But I was listening to some of the things that they were saying about Cat Williams, who is one of the people that I think lots of people are very familiar with, because he did what I would call that famous interview with Shannon Sharp, who now is another person that's, being held under the fire. But I know right now he's happy that B Diddy, Lord Jesus, P Diddy is back in the news, because his name was on everybody's lips, I think, for about a good 2-3 weeks. And he probably was tired of that. I'm sure his people were like, please, somebody come along and be more ratchet, more dangerous, more demented, more fill in the blank with all the savage things and the savage behaviors that these people continuously seem to have. But yeah, so whenever I was listening to Culture Covered, I just was like really impressed. I'm always impressed with her commentary in general. So definitely go over there and like her page and go look at all her videos and all that. Hit all her buttons. So I'm just gonna share my screen and we're gonna get started with the Cat Williams of it all. Because to me, what's going on, well, I would say what's going on with Diddy. Cat Williams kind of told us on his infamous video with Shannon Sharp. I feel like that was maybe 2 years ago. It seems like, it didn't even seem like it was 2 years ago, but I feel like it was maybe 2 years ago. And listen, I don't know. Lots of people on the internet have what I would call theories, and some of them others would call conspiracy theories. But I'll tell you this much: I'm certainly not a conspiracy theorist in any way, shape, or form. Hey, young Rizza, aka Drift King, I appreciate you stopping by. I'm not that person, but I will tell you this: when I started down the unknown rabbit hole that I didn't realize when I started down this damn rabbit hole, and started kind of just I wouldn't call Google research by any stretch of the imagination. However, once I watched the Sloan Bella, what is she? She's like a medium psychic or something like that. And again, take that with a grain of salt. But this lady predicted legit everything that was going to happen to Diddy to a year or so before it even happened. It even started. Like when she did her, she did Kim Porter, which was one of Diddy's mother of his children, because I don't like when people say baby mama. That's not cute. That's not sexy. Beautiful soul. I believe she lost her life around 45, age 45 or something like that, which is, for a normal, healthy, beautiful lady, that shouldn't have happened. So when like I said, when I go down that little rabbit hole of people and associates of Diddy, there just seems to be lots of bodies in the wake, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. And so anyways, like I said, I liked the way the Culture Covered lady, or Culture Spilled, kind of gives a breakdown of Cat Williams and what he's been saying. Because another part of it is, people have been saying for years that I never ever believed about what is it called? The Illuminati. You hear all this stuff and it's just like you roll your eyes, especially if you're like me. I'm just like, stop it. There's no big, huge organization that we should know about. And they're like giving people money and sacrificing their families and sacrificing their children and all this kind of stuff. I was just like, y'all need to stop it. Like, knock it the fuck off. But listen, after I went down this damn rabbit hole, it was just kind of like, okay, the dots are there. I don't know if they all, connect, but there's definitely way more dots out there than I initially, suspected. So I can't say what exists and what doesn't exist anymore. I can't roll my eyes anymore as much as I did in the past. I'll say that much. Because once you become a content creator, you end up going down rabbit holes, whether you want to be down them or not, especially when you have cases like this going on. So, but at any rate, let's go ahead and listen to what Miss Culture Covered had to say about Cat Williams, the Illuminati, and how it relates to Diddy. 1 second.
I don't really know how to complain because all of the people that I ever looked up to had to go through it too. So I know how much they talked about Martin Luther King, and I know what they end up doing to him. I know this same story about Jesus and a few of my uncles. So now I know that if your mouth is really, really big and you try to tell the truth for a living and you like to air people out, hatred is coming your way.
It was when the Illuminati first started coming after him, and I left. Back in that moment, Cat was still wearing Kevlar to bed. I would get in bed with him at night and he would have Kevlar on.
My point. You can't be so happy to change shit that you know how many celebrities went to Diddy's house.
So Diddy just paid his way out of everything and the case is closed, right? Well, not according to Cat Williams. Cat is back and he's basically telling us, don't get it twisted. This isn't justice. It's a warning. And if you're not paying attention, you're about to miss what's really going on. This whole Diddy situation is not just about one man with too much money and a long list of accusations. It's about how the system protects the rich and powerful again and again. The message is clear. If you've got the right connections, the rules don't apply. And while everyone's busy acting like this is over, Cat is one of the few people actually saying what needs to be said. And he's not just calling out Diddy, he's calling out the entire machine behind him. Now here's where it gets wild. Just days after Diddy's verdict was read, the Department of Justice and the FBI ruled that Jeffrey Epstein's client list doesn't exist. Yeah, you heard that right. After years of being told the names were coming any day now, that we'd finally see who was involved in one of the most disgusting crimes ever, suddenly they're saying the list was never real.
The DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list.
This is you trying to book a trip on your business travel platform. And this is me using Navan. This is you wondering why your company uses a...
What do you tell MAGA supporters who say...
That right. After years of being told the names were coming any day now, that we'd finally see who was involved in one of the most disgusting crimes ever, suddenly they're saying the list was never real.
The DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list. What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable. And I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that.
Okay, and of course Cat sees the pattern. Epstein, Diddy, different stories, same outcome. And Cat is saying this is just the beginning. He's trying to warn us that what we just saw was the elites straight up telling us that they can get away with the most despicable crimes and there's nothing we can do to stop them. So let's get into what Cat actually said, what he's warning us about, and why the Diddy case is just the last chapter in a much bigger story they don't want us talking about.
I'm saying, but these Epstein characters have existed throughout history. Everybody is a supplier. Epstein, Weinstein, these guys knew what these extremists liked and provided it and provided the way.
So according to sources close to Cat, he's not surprised that Diddy got the not guilty verdict for RICO. In fact, Cat basically called this months ago because from Cat's perspective, Diddy was never the final boss. He was just the middleman or a gatekeeper, somebody who got handed power on loan from the real players in the back rooms.
That's the battle that's going on, is people who profit from the manipulation of others by getting you to believe something that's not the case. And that's how they make their living, is controlled and regulated.
You think there's ever ways where we can get to the control room and see who's controlling, or you think that's all?
We're past that. We're past that. But we don't protect the whistleblower, right?
Listen, what is happening? Cat Williams said we don't protect the whistleblowers. He would be right. Because it's sort of like, how do you hide from these people, whoever they are? Where do you hide? There's nowhere to hide, because think about it. Most poor people, guess who they know? Other poor people. It just is what it is. Middle class people, they know other middle class people. Rich people, no other rich people. Wealthy people, no other wealthy people. It just is what it is. And when you think about it, the puzzle piece fits too, because Hollywood, the entertainment industry, it doesn't matter if it's sports, music, TV, film, whatever it is, they still sitting on mute. They still ain't saying shit. I mean, for the most part. They even listen, because for a while I would come on here and I'd be like, well, P. Diddy is not P. Diddy, I'm sorry. 50 Cent is one of the only ones that's willing to say anything. Ain't nobody have one word to say. 50's still out here making jokes and whatnot. And I knew something was up. Or I would say this. I found it very strange that 50 Cent was making all these jokes. He'd been making jokes about Diddy for years. Been making jokes about Diddy. And then he made that little, he put out that little, I guess you would call it like Instagram post or whatever of Jay-Z missing, when the whole Diddy thing started, rolling, and it kept growing and growing by the second, snowballing, more and more by the second. He's like, where's he talking about missing Jay-Z? But then, if you guys recall, a few months later, Jay-Z was in a, lawsuit, I will say, with I can't remember that guy's name. He's from Houston. He's an attorney here in Houston. But you guys know who he is. And then all of a sudden, Jay-Z, him and Beyonce, who don't say shit ever, they don't have no interviews. Well, Jay does, but B doesn't really do interviews. I'm like, is she there still? Like, is she a Stepford Wife? Like it's just very bizarre that woman, when she was in her heyday, and I'm not saying she's not in her heyday anymore, but it just seems like every movement that she makes is calculated. She's not, I'll just say this, it just doesn't appear that she's just, being Beyonce anymore to me. That's my opinion. I don't know none of these people. I wasn't there. So it is what it is. It's all alleged. It's all in my opinions for entertainment purposes only. But it's just very bizarre. And I've heard people over the years say things about Beyonce and say she's on, the DRUGS. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe that. But after I start going down this Diddy rabbit hole, I'm like, when shit just don't add up, to me, there's a lot somewhere. And this shit just does not add up. And what it adds up to me is a whole bunch of ravaging, sexual, trafficking, disgusting, back room, back door, back whatever behavior. I believe every word of what Cat Williams is saying. Because I will say this, just as a regular human being out here in life, I remember we bought, and this is how old I am, we had like Cat Williams DVDs or whatever, Blu-rays, like on a bookshelf somewhere in my house. I remember that. And I remember asking my husband, I'm like, what the hell happened to Cat Williams? This was probably like 6, 7, 8 years ago. I don't remember exactly when it was, but I know it was some years ago. And I just thought, what the hell happened to Cat? And then, you go on the internet and you get on the Googler, and it's like, I see all this like disparaging, content, basically saying he on drugs, he's out of his mind, he's mentally ill. And that's one of the things, listen, you don't have to be a celebrity for that to happen. The moment someone says you're bipolar or you have some sort of mental illness, people go, oh, okay, well, that explains the, whatever behavior. But I think that Hollywood or the people, whoever they are, the ones that get you into the doors that you can't unlock, nobody can unlock and unsee it after they've seen it, that type of stuff, they're the ones that they rule, in my opinion, and control the internet and the I would say social media and the media in general. That's just my opinion about it. So if they want a story to be told, it's going to be told. That's just my opinion. I believe that wholeheartedly. It's controlled. It's not just, okay, well, we're going to just put the truth out there. I'll believe media when they become C-SPAN. C-SPAN is, we are filming right now. So whatever's happening right now, that's what you're going to see. Everything else can be manipulated. And that's just my personal opinion. Everything else can be manipulated. That's how I feel about it. But back to what I was saying about Cat Williams. Cat Williams is one of the ones that, they say, well, he's mentally. They did the same thing seemingly to me with Martin Lawrence and various others. All of a sudden, these people suddenly have some sort of mental instability, and we can't really trust what they're saying, and that type of thing. But what's interesting? But one of the ones that are the worst, he's a whole ass felon. That Trump guy that y'all put in the White House, how is that he ain't got the crazy guy? Like, they didn't make that stick. How the fuck? How? If you could ever have a perfect person to say this dude is completely outside of his mind, it would be him. It'd be Trump. But no, he's good. He's good to go. He is great, and he gonna make America great. And I'm just like, how dumb can we be? But at any rate. But a little bit of Cat Williams over here, he better not say shit. And I'm kind of concerned at this point because I believe he kicked the door open. Even though I was saying, like with what's her name? With Sloan Bella, she had talked about what was going to happen to Diddy in the 3-part series she did on Kim Porter. And it all happened so far. So I'm going to roll with whatever Sloan Bella says is going to happen, child. At least until she's wrong. And she ain't going to be right about everything. Nobody is. But yeah, then Cat Williams suddenly decided to set the internet on fire. Because I knew about Shannon Sharpe, but I didn't know anything other than he's, an ex-football player who, in my opinion, did a good job of kind of like securing his career beyond, the field. But I never liked it. It always felt like he was some guy who's working under the white man's thumb. And no shade to the white people. I love white people. I like all people. But I'm saying that's what it always felt like to me. So whenever Shannon came over to the YouTube side, it was a little bit confusing to me for him to be like naming his thing Club Shay Shay. I'm just like, aren't you a whole ass man? And as a football player, you really got to be like a whole ass man. Like, they don't play that. Like, you know what I'm saying? But okay, you got Club Shay Shay working and whatever. And then you get the Cat Williams of it all. And it was like everywhere. And that really kind of popped off when I kind of like had just started my YouTube channel. So it went everywhere, and I was happy for him until we got this other latest stuff where he's clearly not who we thought he was, allegedly. I don't know none of those people. I wasn't there. But anyway, let's keep going. Let's keep going to the culture covered. Love it.
We don't honor the scout that would tell us who it is. Matter of fact, when they get him, we're going to go, I could have told you that was going to happen. They were telling.
Think about it. How many stories have we heard about Diddy being the guy you had to go through to make it in the industry? Not because he had that much talent, but because he had access to labels, deals, parties, private jets, and people. The kind of people you don't name publicly.
I don't really know this guy that well.
Why would Lenore travel thousands of miles to get permanent dental implants? Most dental implant offices.
You all take care. He's the CEO of Universal Music. This guy runs the record industry.
And Kat's been saying it for years. There's a whole structure behind these celebrity puppets. And when one of them gets exposed, it's not about justice. It's about containment and damage control. He takes the hit, signs the check, and the bigger names behind him stay clean. Meanwhile, whistleblowers like Kat get labeled crazy the moment they get close to this truth.
Some of us are against the Illuminati, and we are against the Illuminati at our own detriment. When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them. Nobody likes them.
You want to see how deep this goes? Look at who didn't get mentioned during the Diddy saga. The people who funded Bad Boy when Diddy was a nobody, the record label owners who knew about Diddy's parties, the executives who attended the freak-offs, the investors in Diddy's businesses, and of course, people in the government. But now they want us to believe that Diddy was running something this big on his own. And just look at the pattern. Diddy managed to dodge every single legal trouble for decades. From the City College stampede in 1991, the Club New York shooting, his rumored connection to Tupac and Biggie's countless violent incidents, anyone else in his place would have been under a federal investigation a long time ago. But Diddy was allowed to rise because he served a purpose. And now that his name's too hot, they're pulling the plug and moving on. Now, if you're wondering what purpose he served, well, let's just say it's starting to look like Diddy was the Jeffrey Epstein of the music world when it came to collecting dirt on powerful figures.
In order to understand this lawsuit against P. Diddy, you need to understand the history of sexual blackmail. A lot of people in the comments are misunderstanding why rap music is so anti-gay. And a lot of people understand the ties of Israel and the Mossad to sexual blackmail by Epstein. But a lot of people don't realize the ties of sexual blackmail back to the invention of sexual blackmail and the Jewish mob. So if you don't know what's going on, Diddy, one of the most influential people in the rap industry over the last 30 years, just got served this court case that alleged all kinds of crimes, including murder and drugs and prostitution, but especially having all of his homes wired with cameras and hosting parties with underage girls, rappers, label executives, celebrities, politicians, and collecting sexual blackmail on tons of important people. Like, we're talking Jeffrey Epstein level of operation, but in the music and entertainment industries. But the thing about a court case is that we're only getting the allegations that are in that case, and they're only relevant to what that defendant saw and experienced. And so the bigger picture is not filled in directly. You have to kind of understand the history of this stuff and what each thing might imply about the bigger picture. And that requires an understanding of the history of this stuff. And it's not complicated, and it's a wild story. So, the FBI was founded by J. Edgar Hoover. He actually was the head of the Bureau of Investigation, the BOI, before the FBI was even invented back in the 20s. He served there for 11 years. Then they invented the FBI, and he served as the head of the FBI for 37 years, totaling 48 years leading what was more or less the FBI. So we're talking like all the way from like the Great Depression through World War II into like the 60s. Like through the 60s music revolution into the 70s. All of that time period, the FBI was led by the same person, and he was one of the most corrupt government officials in all of US history. And understanding the state of organized crime and of law enforcement in America is impossible if you don't know about J. Edgar Hoover. And understanding the nature of sexual blackmail is impossible if you don't know about Meyer Lansky, who was a boss in the Jewish mob back in the 30s, 20s, like the Prohibition days and so on. Meyer Lansky, this Jewish mob boss, basically invented the concept of sexual blackmail. And he did it by sexually blackmailing J. Edgar Hoover, the guy who was explicitly supposed to be taking guys like Meyer Lansky down. The Wikipedia articles are sanitized, but basically Meyer Lansky had a photo of J. Edgar Hoover using his mouth on his main assistant, Clyde Tolson. Realistically, it was his boyfriend. They were a couple. But then, once Hoover was blackmailed, he was like, how much worse could it get? And so he started hosting blackmail parties in collusion with these mobsters and inviting all sorts of important people to these blackmail parties to collect his own blackmail. This all happened in what was called the Blue Suite at the Plaza Hotel. And it was basically a bunch of male cross-dressing orgies all caught on camera for like a decade or more. And because Hoover was already blackmailed by the most powerful gangsters in the world, like he didn't give it, and he just went and hosted them, and everybody got blackmail on everybody. Diddy, who founded his record label when he was only 24 years old, became one of the most successful record labels of the time. He was able to do that because he was financed and supported by his mentor.
We are the Skaggs family, Matthew and Cosette, and we are owners of Jellyfish Lighting. We've lived in this house.
Who just happens to be gay and rich and Jewish, just like Meyer Lansky was. And at the time, he was one of the most influential men in the music industry. He managed all kinds of the biggest name artists that you've ever heard of. And he found this guy, Diddy, on the up and up in one of his companies, who we now know from this lawsuit and the other lawsuit filed by his ex-girlfriend, Cassie, which is horrific, disgusting, not a good read. We know that Diddy has some real effed up sexual proclivities, as well as just generally probably being at least gay or bi, one of the two. So this finds this guy with questionable morals, questionable sexual habits, and ready to go crazy whatever. Like he's willing to shoot people. He's willing to launder money. He's willing to do crazy.
So Juan says, hey, Chanel's Reality. Hey, Juan. Let's see. Juan says, I hope he does a deep dive into Hotel Pro. Who is that? The FBI operation messed up a lot of families in the 60s. And yeah, that makes sense. And then the FBI, you know what I thought? Because I knew Edgar Hoover or whatever wasn't a good guy. And then I watched something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I watched something. And it was talking about how one of the big, to me, I'll say this is my opinion. One of the biggest FBI, I would say, investigations was the investigation into Dr. Martin Luther King. It was like they wanted to, listen, they needed something on this man. The only thing they really ever got on him that I could see was infidelity, you know? And that kind of like messed me up a little bit because, you know, he's Dr. Martin Luther King, okay? And what he doing running around America or wherever the hell he was, cheating on his wife. Like, what the fuck? You know, I felt that. I felt it kind of tarnished his image. But even though it's out there and people know about it, I don't think people really care so much because people care more about the good that he did, so to speak. And I'm one of those people. I think it's horrible. I feel bad for his wife, all the stuff she went through. I'm sure it wasn't easy for her. You know, it's never easy for the wife because, you know, this toxic conditioning that we have across the planet basically says no matter what happens in your marriage, if you're a female, you need to stay with your husband. I don't give a shit what he does. It's just like, are you serious? I ain't doing that. Nope. I'm sorry. I don't live in 1864. I'm not doing that. Women have rights. We gonna get a whole education. We can take care of ourselves. We don't need to be held down or tied to. And that's not to say that you shouldn't stay with your whoever. You do whatever the hell makes you happy in your marriage. But I'm saying that the way our world operates, if the woman leaves, it's like, well, she should have been. If he cheats on her, it's still her fault. It'll be like, they'll say some bullshit like, well, she wasn't doing what the other girl would. And I'm like, fuck that. if you need her to go do it, go get with her. Like, bye. What would I be over here with you for? I'm not doing that shit. But a lot of women and men have bought into this idea that, you know, it must be something you weren't doing to keep your man happy. No. He just ain't happy, or he just an infidel, whatever you want to call it. But they don't have your behavior, your responses to whatever you have going on are yours. They are not mine. Period, point blank, end of story. And it ain't changing over here. But yeah, I think that's the only thing that they really could ever get on Martin Luther King. And I believe, you know, the FBI had everything to do with why that man is not alive. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know these people. I wasn't there. It's all alleged. So one says that MLK investigation was part of the, I don't know how to say this word. Is it Colinto pro investigation? They went in deep on anyone influential in the civil rights movement. Okay, well, that makes sense. You know, they can't have us over here doing shit, you know, to progress. Anywho, let's finish listening to what this young man has to say. I agree, Mr. Juan. Mm-hmm.
He's willing to do basically anything. This is just me speculating on here on his motivations, but mentored Diddy and brought him up and elevated him to a record executive by helping him found his label, Bad Boy Records. That was Clark's move. He did that. And then Diddy, along with a lot of help from a lot of other people all around him, proceeded to do 30 years worth of sexual blackmail operations within the rap industry and promoted artists that seem to have been ensnared in it, like Usher, for example, like Meek Mills.
You know what? See, like I said, you go down this little rabbit hole with Diddy. Before I knew anything, it was just like, oh, this man is fucking crazy. No, but honestly, it's a long ass rabbit hole. And I've been saying for a long time, because I didn't know any of this existed. Lots of people are like, oh, you know, Diddy's been doing this for years and blah, blah, blah. And everyone kind of knew it was an open secret when it wasn't no open secret for someone like me. I had no idea. I was just kind of like, I was one of those people that felt like, or bought into, let me say it like that. You know, I used to watch like, you know, little video clips of like Notorious B.I.G. or Big Papa saying things like, oh, you know, my homie Puff, you know, he told me you gotta let this drug stuff go, man, and come let's make this real money and blah, blah, blah. And I really believe that, like, because that's what I heard. You know, I'm 14, 15 years old or whatever. And I'm thinking, okay, he's getting this guy. When I say he, I'm talking about Diddy. He's when he found this, you know, masterful lyricist, and he's going to be, you know, he's really good with, you know, making raps and music and all that. He's just really like a rap genius, in my opinion. And, you know, he's trying to teach him how to do things the right way. And I was so for it. Little did I know, nowhere near, but close to the truth. And the Sloan Bella lady I was telling you guys about, she did a video on Notorious B.I.G. You should go watch it. I'm just saying, even if you don't believe in psychics or whatever, because that lady says when she was, I guess, I don't know if you call it talking to B.I.G. or whatever it is. She said that he called P. Diddy. This is before P. Diddy was, you know, anybody. This is before Cassie's lawsuit. So way before any of this shit broke, Sloan Bella was on her channel like a year before or 2 years before, saying that who the hell is at my front door? Someone is at the doorbell. What the fuck's going on? Anyway, must be Amazon. Alexa, stop. But he was on, Sloan Bella said that Notorious B.I.G. called Diddy a devil dog. And I'm like, say what? And again, like I said, this is way before Cassie, before I would say the world really knew Diddy as we know him now. So when I watched that, I was like, yo, and I'm a skeptic. You're going to have to show me some proof. Like, I'm just like, I'm not one of those people that you just tell some shit to. And I'm just like, oh, okay. I don't operate like that. But I keep getting these notifications. What the hell is going on? Yeah, so when I watched that about, you know, what B.I.G. or Big Papa, Notorious B.I.G., however you know him, when I watched that, I was like, yo, like, it's a lot. It's a lot of information about, you know, basically how P. Diddy operated. One of the other big things that she said about it was that B.I.G. or Biggie Smalls, he was going to leave. That's what Sloan Bella said. Okay. She said he was gonna leave a bad boy, and that he basically, from what I recall, didn't have a lot of rights to a lot of things. And that's not uncommon, I would say, in the music industry, especially in the music industry, because a lot of these people, you know, they're talented and all they want is their shot. They just like, I'm not, you know, it's kind of like sitting in the room at the what do they call it in NFL? Like they're gonna pick you. I forget, it's a term that they use for the draft. And you sitting there and here's your dream, and someone has it right there in your hands, and I mean in their hands, and it's this close, you could taste it. I feel like a lot of rappers, especially ones that were, you know, or people that were living in poverty, didn't have anything. All they wanted to do is, you know, they weren't really good in terms of maybe education and things like that. I'm not saying that for all of them, but I'm saying maybe that wasn't a way for them. Maybe they didn't have money or whatever, right? And here's your chance for you to be able to move, you know, out of poverty, get your mama a house, your sister, like, you know what I'm saying? An opportunity to maybe somehow build generational wealth. And then if you want to be a star, you want to be famous and all this other stuff, it can be very intoxicating, I would say. Even though it really kind of removes all of your, whatever you thought you wanted, you can't do anymore. Beyonce can't go to Target. Not that she going to Target, but you get what I'm saying? Like she can't do anything without it's a whole ass production going on for her to get on a plane, for her to go into a different city, for her to show up. It's a whole thing. She can't just do that anymore. And so really what I'm getting at, it takes over your life. But the idea that you could become rich and famous and have access and all those things is very, I'm sure, very intoxicating for people that haven't had much, or even for some that had a little bit. You know, think about all the Real Housewives or whatever. You supposedly are rich, living this good life, but yet you still want to be on TV, destroying your marriage or putting your marriage on Front Street or whatever it is that you got going on, all for the limelight, only to find out it isn't as great as you think it is. The money, yeah, great. But now your whole life, you don't have anymore. And that's kind of what I got from the Sloan Bella, you know, whatever reading or whatever when she talked about Notorious B.I.G. It's like this man's life isn't his life. And I think, you know, what's the most insidious thing that I would say about that whole situation with Puffy and Notorious B.I.G. is that from my perspective, B.I.G. died, and the way he died was it was horrible. I'm gonna say it that way. And so, but what was the worst thing about all of this? If any of it's to be believed, and I believe it, you could do your own research, whatever the case may be. But from the information that I've gotten, the most insidious thing is that man was unalived. It was the information that I believe, I wasn't there. I don't know none of these people. It's all alleged. But the information that I believe is that was a whole ass setup. And the worst part of it, outside of this man losing his life, is then P. Diddy goes and makes a song with Faith Evans, whom I think has a child with Notorious B.I.G. And his ass ice skating across the stage at the either the Grammys or the BET Awards, wherever the hell he was, with that song Missing You. How insidious is that? How deranged is that? To know that you had something to do with this man's unaliving, I'll say it like that, in my opinion, allegedly. And then you go make a whole ass song with his baby mama and dance. And it became, I believe it was one of the #1 hits. I remember loving that song because I just thought, oh man, he lost his bestie. You know what I'm saying? I'm just too good of a person. God bless me. Because I believe, unfortunately, I believe people are like me more than they are like Diddy. And because I believe that, you know, I believe in, you know, the good. I'm looking for the good because I'm good. You know, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but you get what I'm saying. So to then 20 years later, realize that man was really sick. So he probably has something to do with that man's unaliving. That's just what I believe. I believe he had a direct action plan for Tupac and Biggie. I wholeheartedly believe that. But like I said, I wasn't there, so I don't know. Yeah, so I think that Diddy, I think there are people in power that have silenced him on some level. And he can't say whatever he thought he might be able to say. He can't name the names. I don't think that he has that ability. But until I watched this video, I really did think it was more about, Clive Davis and, Diddy and all that kind of stuff. But now it seems to be way more going on than maybe I even thought. So let's see. Mr. Young RZA, he says Chanel's reality, Skepta and his brother, is it supposed to be Jamie, are university graduates back in the late 90s and 2000s. But he did have opportunities and ended up in the streets. Okay. Oh no. Hold on, guys. My work is calling. 1 second. Sorry, guys, my work is calling, so I'm going to go ahead and hit play on the video.
Hell, even Justin Bieber is like directly in this story. And so what you wind up with is a rap industry, a music industry that is full of people that are creating the types of music that the people above them, that the people that hire them, that the people that manage them want them to make. They're all terrified of stepping on the wrong toes or getting out of line or doing what they're not supposed to for one blackmail reason or the other. And we wind up with an entire industry.
And this same thing happened with Epstein. When it got too messy, they told us he conveniently took his own life. And his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, was sentenced for selling victims to no one. Not a single client has been named to this day. In fact, the Trump administration just announced that they concluded their investigation and found that the client list never existed in the first place. Oh, now let me show you how they're gaslighting you. And they're not even being subtle about it anymore. Just 5 months ago, Attorney General Pam Bondi appeared on Fox News and said that the Epstein list is not only real, but was sitting on her desk.
DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
What makes a post-university person? Post people don't have time to waste. They want to move their career forward. Post people don't have money to waste. They want a good education at a great value. Are you a post person? Find out at post.edu.
Same old phone? Nah. Upgrade to the new Galaxy Z Fold 7.
Not yet.
But fast forward to now, and the Department of Justice just announced on Monday, July 7th, that the list does not exist. Oh, and they're also claiming that Epstein definitely took his own life. They even released this footage from the night Epstein died, supposedly as proof that his death was self-inflicted.
Overnight, the FBI and Justice Department releasing 11 hours of footage they say helps confirm notorious financier Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide in his Manhattan jail cell in 2019, awaiting his sex trafficking trial. According to a memo detailing the findings, investigators found the video showed no one entering the area in the overnight hours before Epstein was found unresponsive. But perhaps the biggest bombshell, investigators say they found no incriminating client list of Epstein's, no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals, and no evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties.
But what they don't tell you is that security cameras magically malfunctioned that night Epstein died. Both prison guards just happened to be asleep. Epstein was taken off suicide watch just days after a previous attempt. His cellmate was removed shortly before his death. The autopsy showed broken broken hyoid bones consistent with strangulation, not hanging. The bed sheets weren't strong enough to support a hanging. He told people he was planning to cooperate and expose everything. And of course, he had dirt on the most powerful people on the planet: politicians, royals, and billionaires. Oh, and by the way, these are the real photos of Epstein's prison cell taken from the Department of Justice video that was released shortly after his death. But the video released by the FBI on Monday shows a completely different cell. So what's next? They'll tell us that MLK died peacefully in his bed? And this is the moment we've reached. The government, the media, the elite class, they're not just lying to us. They're telling us not to believe our own eyes. Sure, they've always manipulated the truth, but now it's so brazen that they're not even bothering with cover stories. And what happened with Diddy and Epstein is a clear message from the elites. They don't care that you and I know the truth. They will still do as they please, and there is nothing we can do about it. And this isn't just corruption, magical operation, and gaslighting at a global scale. So it's not just that they're fooling us anymore. They don't care if we know. That's the real message. And this is exactly what Cat Williams has been trying to warn us about for so long.
One world people exist because it's a very powerful concept to have and far too lucrative and beneficial to not be attempted.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to run some global power organization, I would try to co-opt every single leader, try to suck them in, offer support, bring them out to wherever the fuck I have my big ass meetings, fly everybody in private jets, talk about the climate crisis.
All organizations have to follow the same rules.
Yeah, that's wild.
Recruitment is an important facet of all. Like,
we have to get some young global leaders.
Well, understand this is the only reason that we can talk about these big Illuminati-like entities at this period of time. It's just because of time. Like, they aged out. Like, you can't get in new. So everybody got decrepit over there, and they can't exchange really through this period of history. And so that's how we ended up with the Bob Lazars and everything. Throughout history, you could really, it was much easier to get people to not tell nobody.
Right.
As part of your job. You know what I mean?
Imagine going to a World Economic Forum party. What did those freaks do when all the listening devices have been scanned out of the room? All their phones been put into bags and locked away in a lead vault. What do those freaks do? Because you know it's not normal shit. You know everybody's buttoned down like that and wants to control the world. There's something involved that's outlandish that they keep a secret. That's always been the case with secret societies. I mean, that's the whole eyes wide shut thing. That there's some freak shit going on behind the scenes to anybody that really wants to control everything. You don't just want to control everything. You want to control everything so you can get away with some freak shit too.
Right. I'm saying, but these Epstein-like characters have existed throughout history, whether they were kings or what, human beings are human beings universally. So everybody is a supplier. Epstein, Weinstein, like these guys knew what these extremists liked and provided it.
Basically, Kat's whole point, and he's dead on about this, is that Diddy and Epstein weren't just random, isolated monsters. They are products of a network of power, money, and silence that operates way above the law. These men were allowed to operate the way they did for years, decades. So the real question isn't just what did they do, it's who let it happen, who protected them, who profited. Well, we'll probably never get those answers because we're not allowed to know. Just like with Epstein's so-called client list, which the courts now say was never real. We're supposed to swallow that and move on like we didn't see the flight logs with our own eyes. But here's the thing we do know. Everyone knows. We just can't say it out loud without risking our platforms, our jobs, and maybe even our lives. That's the deal. You can know, but you better not speak, because the people on that list don't just influence the system. Honey, they are the system. And like that old quote says, to learn who rules over you, simply find out who you're not allowed to criticize. Oh, we know. And that's the real story here. Cat isn't just talking about Diddy and Epstein. He's talking about a whole class of protected predators operating in plain sight, while the rest of us are told to shut up, look away, and pretend it's all just a conspiracy theory. But the question is, how long are we going to keep playing along? Let me know in the comments. Do you think Cat's warning is the beginning of something bigger, or is it already too late? If Diddy and Epstein were just middlemen, who's really running the show? And why do we keep pretending we don't know the names when we do? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll catch you in this next video.
Be the CFO you've always dreamed of with your company's travel spend under control.
A few months ago, Ali Sadiq